Record. Hello, everyone. My name is Leah Guzman, and I welcome you to the Creative Soul Online Retreat. How to use creativity and the chakras to manifest money, love, and happiness. This interview series invites artists, therapists, energy healers, and manifestors to discuss how to raise your vibration in order to manifest your desires. This interview series discusses how to heal emotional blocks, identify limited beliefs and mindsets, and bring our awareness that everything that you want on the outside must be first created on the inside. All right. And today I want to welcome Debra Poneman and give you a little background about her. I'm very excited that she's here with us today. Debra Poneman began transforming lives in the 1970s, and she studied with the greatest spiritual masters of the East, often in deep meditation for 10 to 12 hours a day, and then taught meditations to thousands. In the 1980s, Debra immersed herself in the knowledge of the masters of Western metaphysical thought and founded the Yes to Success seminars, teaching us how to create outward success based on inner silence. Within a few short years, Debra's seminars were being taught across the US and even in 7 countries on 4 continents, long before the days of the internet. So Debra appeared on media around the world, and her students went on to become mega successful entrepreneurs, New York Times best-selling authors, millionaires, billionaires, and even household names. So in 1988, with her Yes to Success book in the hands of major New York publisher and about to launch her network TV show, Debra walked away from her career and disappeared from the public eye for over 20 years, because she chose to follow a new passion, which was becoming a stay-at-home mom, which is beautiful as well. So now as a best-selling author, Debra is back once again to share the secrets of creating a life of true and lasting success. So welcome, Debra. I'm so happy that you are here.
I am so happy to be here. I'm already having a good time.
Awesome. Yeah, we're going to be talking about creating success and how that can be guaranteed. So I'm really curious about your tools and tricks, all your secrets so that you could share with us.
Yes, they are tricks of the trade.
So can you tell us a little bit about your story of how you founded your Yes to Success company?
Yes, well, actually, I love your topic. And in the intro to the series, you said how outer success can be created by first starting with the inner. And I definitely first started with the inner, because when I was 18, I started meditating. When I was 19, I went to become a teacher of the Transcendental Meditation program. And I taught literally thousands of people meditation. I was a full-time meditation teacher. And I also spent a great deal of time, as you said, at the feet of the greatest living and now passed on masters of the East, meditating 10 to 12 hours a day. Not that I recommend that to anybody, but back then, it was kind of to counteract the noise in the world. Our teacher had us meditate many, many hours a day in large groups. And we actually in silence for weeks at a time. Now, of course, I can't stay in silence for minutes at a time, but that was a different time in creation. And what happened was that after being in that world for quite some time, I woke up, I think it was just before my 30th birthday, and I realized that I needed things like health insurance, like car insurance, a car to insure, So I decided that I was going to go where I thought the money was. So I moved from the meditation community I was living in Iowa, and I moved to California, to LA, because that's where I thought the money was. And we make plans and God laughs, right? So I went there to make money, but I also believe that even if something seems like a complete disaster, and for me, selling investments is how I thought I was going to make money, was a complete disaster. I actually never sold one, and all the time that I was selling investments, I was a dismal failure. But what happened was that one night, one of my coworkers invited me to a seminar. I thought it was going to be on stocks and bonds, and I learned more how to become successful. But it was actually somebody talking about the law of attraction. And this was in 1980. And he was talking about how the power of your mind, the thoughts that are the most dominant, you vibrate with those thoughts. So if you're always talking about lack and limitation and how you're never going to get out of debt and how you can't even pay the mortgage, you vibrate with that. And just like a tuning fork, you vibrate more of that into your life. But no matter what your financial situation is, if you say, well, yeah, that might be the reality now, but I'm going in a great direction and I know that I am going, and then you actually talk about what your life is going to look like. You start vibrating at that vibration. Well, I had never heard of this before, certainly. And as that man was speaking, I knew exactly what I was going to do with my life. And I knew exactly why I had really come to LA. And that was because I was supposed to take that knowledge and teach it. And for about 6 months, I immersed myself in the great masters of success and prosperity. People, and I recommend everybody read these people: Napoleon Hill, Wallace Wattles, Emmett Fox, Florence Shinn, Catherine Ponder. And I was like a kid in the candy store, just reading and listening to cassette tapes of all these people. And after about 6 months, I was ready to launch my Yes to Success seminar. And what happened was that I froze, because I thought to myself, who am I? No, I'm not even 30 years old yet. I'm going to go teach people how to be successful. I'm broke. I drive a beat up Chevy Bel Air that my aunt left me when she died. I've never had any business experience in my life except teaching meditation. But here's one of the most important concepts that if I just share one thing with your listeners and nothing else, an idea comes to you because it's supposed to be manifested by you.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Right? And that's why we all have different ideas. One person has the idea to ride their bicycle across the US. Another person has the idea to open a massage studio. Another person to become a theta healer. Another person to have a seminar like this, right? And we also are usually given the talents that we need to manifest that. Like, you're this amazing artist. I just found out that that picture behind you, you actually created. It is so magnificent. And so magnificent. And you were given that gift. I mean, it would kind of be a slap in the creator's face if you didn't take that talent and use it to glorify creation. And for me, I was always a speaker. You know, I ran for office in the 8th grade because I wanted to give the speech. Right? So the idea came to me to teach that body of knowledge. And so even though I froze, another principle of success that I share with people that I learned from the great masters is, see, I hadn't told anybody what I was going to be doing. Okay. Nobody, even though it was months and months and months and months. And my friends are, what are you doing? What are you working on? I'll tell you when I'm ready, because I believe that what is sacred should be kept secret. See, this flies in the face of what every other success guru tells you. I'm going to tell you something different. They say, tell people what you're going to do so they hold you accountable. Well, it never works, because if you want to weasel your way out of it, you're going to weasel your way out of it. No one's going to hold you accountable except yourself. But what can happen if you share with people your sacred ideas? Well, one of two things. One is you'll bump up against the discouragement committee that will tell you all the reasons why your idea is not going to work. What? You're going to do a seminar on being successful and creativity? Oh, so many people did. Don't bother, right? And I have had so many people, my students over the years, who have had their beautiful, heartfelt ideas crushed like a tiny seed because they shared it before it had a chance to grow into a strong tree that even if somebody does try to step on it, it's already a strong tree. Right. And so we have the ideas that we're supposed to manifest, and we have those ideas at the time that we're supposed to manifest them, because the creator whispers in our ears, I need this manifested right now for creation to work. And I'm asking you to do it. See, the creator can't come down and open up a gluten-free bakery, right? I always say God has no hands but yours.
Right.
So the creator whispers in your ears. And if you don't go and manifest that idea, then somebody else is going to. And we've all had the experience like, that was my idea to write that book. Well, yeah, and you probably got first dibs, but you didn't do it. So the creator had to whisper it to somebody else. So even though I was a young woman, and woman is the emphasis there, because I went on to become a corporate trainer. I was the only woman corporate trainer that I knew of. Mm-hmm. But I had that whispered in my ear. So fear and all, I took a step from which there was no turning back. Another great principle of success. Because for me, I went and put up posters. I rented a room at the Santa Monica Public Library. Debra Poneman, actually my name was Olson at the time, Debra Olson, to teach you how to say yes to success. Oh, right? And then when I shared it with people and the discouragement committee did show up, it was too late because I had the posters put up. And one of the things, and then I'll take a breath and let you ask me something else. One of the things is that not only do you run the risk of running up against the discouragement committee, but the other thing that could happen if you share your cherished ideas is people could say, oh, that's such a brilliant idea. You're the perfect person. You're so great. That's so great. And then you're like, yeah. And you already got the accolades. So you're not as motivated to go out and do it because everybody already told you how perfect and brilliant you are. So keep that idea like inside the kettle and let it build up until it has to burst forth, like the steam building up in a kettle, right? But if you keep telling people, you're letting the steam out of the kettle.
Oh, I like that. Okay, that sounds good. I'll practice that. Keep it just a close-knit friends. Is that okay?
Well, be careful because sometimes, I always say usually the head of the discouragement committee is like your mother-in-law. The head of the discouragement committee could be your spouse.
Okay.
The head of the discouragement committee can be your best friends because sometimes people have the false belief that if you become successful, that is going to take something away from them. And sometimes people want to hold you back because they're afraid you're going to move on without them. There are all kinds of things people make up in their mind. So just be really careful. I say only share with those people who you need to share with because you need an investor or you need a recommendation, but swear those people to secrecy and don't just randomly share your ideas with people. There's an expression, those who do talk the least, those who, actually I'm screwing up the quote, but you get the picture, right?
Okay. I will keep that. I love that. That's a good principle to keep in mind. I love that. I have lots of ideas. So you started your company and it soon became an international phenomenon. Is it true that you actually gave it up at the height of your success?
Yes, I actually did, because what I taught people was that the surest path to success is to follow your heart. And what happened was that my seminar, from that first presentation I did at the Santa Monica Public Library, where the discouragement committee did tell me that nobody was going to believe a crazy idea like your thoughts create your reality. Once I put up the poster and they knew what I really knew was going to come and hear that. The posters were already put up and I walked in, it was standing room only. And that was the beginning of Yes to Success. And within a few short years, my seminars were being taught in 7 countries on 4 continents, which might not sound like a lot now because of the internet, but that was snail mail and phones with those, curly cords, right?
Impressive.
So,
I'm impressed.
It was pretty phenomenal. And what happened was that my seminar became bigger and bigger and bigger. And some of today's most renowned transformational leaders were my students back then. And in 1988, I was about to sign a contract for my own daytime network TV talk show. And actually, Janet Atwood, who's the founder of the Passion Test, she's a New York Times bestselling author, and she was actually my secretary at the time, my secretary assistant, and she was taking notes for me during that meeting with the producer, and we were just finalizing all of the details for my TV show, and my Yes to Success book was in the hands of a major publisher, and one day I just decided to give it all up, and I gave it up because my daughter was born. And when I took one look at her, I knew I had a new passion. And the truth is that I believe people these days, we have authenticity meters. We know when people up on the stage are telling the truth. We know when people are just saying things, but they're not coherent or congruent. We know the teachers who live their teaching. And if I taught people to follow their hearts, and I was out, I remember I was supposed to give a series of talks in Southeast Asia, and the promoter there in Singapore, he actually called me, says, I heard you had the baby. Let's set up the tour. And I said to him, Young, I said, you're going to have to call me back in 18 years.
Wow. Do it 18 years later?
I really said that to him. I said, you got to call me back in 18 years, which turned into 21 years after my son was born. Because I believe that if I was out doing my TV show and promoting my book and doing seminars in Southeast Asia, when my heart was home with my baby girl, then my authenticity meter would have been way over in negative territory. So I had to be the teacher who was living the teaching. And, people said, did you go out of your mind? Are you going out of your mind that I'm giving this all up? And I said, yeah, out of my mind, right on my mind, and right into my heart. And I'll tell you, Leah, another absolute foolproof way to become successful is get out of your mind and go into your heart. Because the heart knows the truth and the heart connects. And in these days, if we're living in our minds and if we're making decisions from our minds, it's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for failure whenever you have a decision to make, or if you're in one of those conversations with people and you've got to be right, just take a deep breath and move consciously into your heart center and live from there. And then you'll almost always make the right decisions.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I was going to ask you if you ever regretted that decision, but it's from, you can. I mean, if you're following your heart, then
Well, that's so funny. Did I ever regret the decision? No. Did I ever doubt the decision? Absolutely.
Okay.
Because that's what humans do. Humans doubt. Okay, you're doing this great telesummit. Fantastic. And then one thing goes wrong, like, oh, should I have done this? Well, you're human. Right. You're not a robot. Right. Humans we doubt, and that's what we do. But can I just tell you one quick story about this moment? So there is this moment where my kids were probably like 5 and 2. And it was this moment where I had this huge doubt. And not only did I doubt, I absolutely was convinced that I had ruined my entire life. So what happened was, how old are your children?
8 and 10 right now.
8 and 10. Okay. So remember when they were little and they would have those days where nothing would make them happy?
Right.
Right. So I usually didn't put my kids in front of the TV, but this was a TV day because I couldn't do it anymore. It's like, okay. And they wanted to watch Barney. You know Barney, that big dinosaur thing. So anyway, they wanted to watch Barney. And because they didn't watch TV a lot, I wasn't sure what channel Barney was on. So I'm doing this channel check. And as I'm doing the channel check, I see Oprah. Mm-hmm. And not only do I see Oprah with these 2 whiny kids on the couch, we want Bounty, where's Bounty? My daughter couldn't say her R's, where's Bounty? And then her little brother would repeat everything she said, where's Bounty? And all of a sudden, not only do I see Oprah, but I see one of my students on Oprah.
Wow.
And not only do I see my student on Oprah, but my student with his best-selling book is doing a demonstration for Oprah that he had learned in my seminar. Now, so that's fine. And it was a demonstration on the power of the mind. That's fine, because when I retired, I said, take my information, public domain. You don't have to give me credit. Absolutely. The world needs this. Go for it.
Wow.
However, on that particular day,
the universe gave you like a sign, like how amazing you're doing.
Okay, thank you. See, that's so great. That's an enlightened perspective. Like, wow, look at the contribution that through this person I'm making. Me, whiny kids, best-selling book, Oprah, and I burst into tears.
Oh.
Because at that moment, I was absolutely convinced that I had made the wrong decision and I had ruined my life.
Wow, I'm shocked.
Right. Well, it was that moment. See, that's the thing. And again, the reason I share this is so that your listeners, when they have doubts, when they think they made the wrong decision, just love yourself up, because you are human. And we as humans, we're not like, oh yeah, and then I saw that person on Oprah, and Oprah going, oh my God, this is so brilliant. This is the most brilliant thing. And I thought, wow, isn't that great? No, I'm knee deep in dirty diapers. He's knee deep in, speaking engagements. And I'm like, so here I am standing in front of the TV, convinced that I had ruined my life, and I'm crying. And the only thing that snapped me out of it was when my little daughter, true story, goes, Mommy. And I said, the good part is it made them stop crying, but it's just, Mommy. I said, what, baby? She goes, I think you forgot our popsicles.
Oh.
And so I said, yeah, I think I did forget your popsicles. So I found Bonnie, and I went into the room, and I'm pouring the orange juice into those plastic molds, and I'm mad at the universe. I'm like, how could you do this to me? I was supposed to my book was in the hands of a New York top publisher, and I'm like arguing with God, like, why did you do this to me? And I had this image of like God just whispered in my ear, and I call God, that's the name that I give for that energy, spirit, Jesus, Krishna, whatever, Muhammad, whatever anybody wants to call it. Me, I call that energy in the universe God. So God whispers in my ear, remember the book. I said, I am remembering the book. That was supposed to be my book. And then this energy said to me, no. And then I had this remembrance of a book that I had read about a person who had died. And then, these people, they die and then they could come back and then they write their book about it. There's so many of them. But this particular one told the story of a man who had died. And when he went through the tunnel of darkness, there was a being of light on the other side. And the being of light said to him, would you like to see a movie reel of the highlights of your life? And the man said, yes, I certainly would. And it was a very short reel. It just showed him showing his son how to swing a baseball bat and dancing with his daughter at her wedding. So he's really indignant. And he says to this being of light, well, what about when I brought my company public? And what about when I had opened the factories in Japan? And the being of light said, all of those moments glorified you. And then the being of light said, and this is like what actually happened to this man on the other side. He came back, he wrote about it. Then the being of light said, would you like to see the life of somebody else who just passed on, who you knew? And the man said, yes, I would. Well, as it says in this book, these curtains of golden light parted, and they're sitting on a throne of golden light surrounded by a host of angels, was the lady who used to take 3 buses to get to his house to clean.
Wow.
And the being of light said, now I have permission to show you a movie reel of her life. And it was this endless reel. And it showed her carrying a pot of soup to a sick friend. And it showed her holding her mother's hand and stroking her mother's hair as her mother was making her transition. It showed her comforting a sad child. It showed her cheering at the baseball games for the kids whose parents couldn't be there because they had to work 3 jobs just to put food on the table, right? And it showed her just going to church and hugging everyone up and saying, how you doing today? And then the being of light said, you used to judge this woman as being such a pathetic creature, but she was a happy woman who lived a full and beautiful life. And what you find out when you get here is that the only thing that matters while you're on earth is how much love you give.
That's so beautiful. So
yeah,
true.
it is so true. And, and then I realized, in the Talmud, it's one of the Jewish scriptures, it says you change one life, you change the world. So maybe I was just changing the lives or contributing to the lives of those 2 little beings on the couch, but through them, I was changing the world. And actually, as it turns out, both of my kids are doing amazing things that are changing the world.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it.
So, thank you.
Yes. It's all about the love and the relationships.
Yeah.
That was so heartfelt.
Thank you.
All right. So just switching gears a little bit. So for women who, I think I'm gonna just go into who might not know what their purpose might be. I think maybe I'll move into that of, that might be listening to the series, and we're talking about chakras, creativities, and getting your energy aligned and that kind of stuff, but might not know, what their purpose is, and what they're supposed to put on this planet Earth. Can you give us like some insight or tools of how they can find out about this?
Yes, and thank you. And I love that question. I know there are a lot of questions that you could have asked me. And the reason why I love that is usually when people have a question about what they should be doing, what they're put on earth to do, anything that we're in a quandary over, what we usually do is we go outside ourselves for the answer. We ask our mother, we ask our father, we ask our partner, we ask our friends, we ask our teachers. And who do we forget to ask?
Ourselves.
Exactly. And you would never be given a question without having been given the answer. So Emerson says there is nothing capricious in nature. And he says the implanting of the desire indicates that its gratification is in the person who has that desire. What I say is that you're never given a question without the Creator having already given you the answer. But what we do is we don't exercise the muscle of going inside. I think it's so funny. People, have you ever read any of the books by Neil Donald Walsh, like Conversations with God?
No,
Anyway,
I haven't, but that sounds really interesting because this keeps coming up in the interviews that we're talking about having that conversation with the divine. So.
Right. So usually what happens is that, Neil Donald Walsh, wrote all of these books about his conversations with God, and he became a mega, multiple times New York Times bestselling author by all of these books where he wrote down his conversations with God. And I always think it's so funny when people go, "Oh, Neil Donald Walsh had conversations with God." Well, you know what?
We all do.
We all do. Every single day. But the difference between us and Neil Donald Walsh is that he wrote them down and then he sold the books, and God bless him. But we have that direct channel to God. And the only time we ever acknowledge it is once in a while we'll have a flash of intuition and we'll go, "Oh, I have this insight." Great. You had, but we could actually systematically tap in to that voice of God that is speaking to us at every moment, yet we ignore it in lieu of going and asking some friend what they think. It doesn't matter what they think. They're not you. They think from their perspective, from their hurts, from their life experience, from their traumas. What you need to do is actually move beyond your trauma and contact the God that's within you. And every single answer that you have ever been looking for is absolutely right inside. Actually, do we have time to do a little exercise where people can I lead people through a meditation and then we'll do a little writing exercise? Do we have time?
Yeah. I think we can, as long as we keep it brief, I think we could do it. I think that would be fun.
Okay, I will keep this as brief as I can. What I'm going to do is just to prepare us to do our writing, take out a piece of paper, everybody, or you can type, but then you'd cover up our beautiful faces. So I'd say take out a piece of paper. And first I want you to close your eyes, sit comfortably. Don't close your eyes if you're listening audio and you're driving the car, but close your eyes. And first take a deep breath in through the nose and then out through your mouth. And again, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And this time, when you breathe in through your nose, allow all the tension to go with the exhalation. And now take one more slow, deep breath. And this time, breathe into your heart chakra, the heart center in the middle of your chest. And there you will see a radiant light, the light of the Creator. And now feel that light shimmering, alive. And then allow that light, whether it's golden or green or white or pink, however you see it, it's all good. Allow it to fill your body with its radiance as you continue to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. With your attention now not only on your heart, but the light of your heart spreading throughout your physiology. This is the light of love. And love is your very essence. Now breathe into that light of love that's now vibrating in every cell of your body. And as you breathe out, radiate that love and allow it to fill the room where you are sitting. And feel every particle in that room shimmering with light. And now breathe in again through the nose and out through your mouth and allow that shimmering light to spread from your heart to the hearts of all of your family and your friends. You are a generator of light. You are a generator of love. And now they too, their souls are recognizing that they too are generators of life and of love. And imagine that love pouring from your heart to theirs and to all of the living creatures on this planet. Every human, every bird in the sky, every fish in the sea, every animal in every terrain. Every human, old, young, black, white, in every remote corner of the universe. We are all connected as one body of radiant love. And as you continue to breathe in this light of love, watch as it now expands and fills the entire cosmos, the entire universe, every corner of the universe. And now, as we are all vibrating in that light of divine grace, divine love, we ask that that divine grace purify everything in the soul of creation that's no longer needed for the highest evolution of our planet and of our creation. And allow everything that's not needed to dissolve into its origin. And we ask for divine grace to purify everything in our being that's no longer needed to live our highest good and dissolve that into the great void, leaving only the radiant light of love. And now we ask for blessings from the Creator, the God of our understanding, from all the energies in the universe that govern our individual and collective happiness, success, our guardian angels, our ancestors, and we ask that they bless us to give us the knowledge that we need about why we were put on earth. Because in every great age, great men and women were sent to earth to do what was required to change the course of time. When Jesus was needed, he came to earth. When Krishna was needed, he came to earth. When Muhammad was needed, he came to earth. And now each of you have come to earth. You are not only the answer you have been looking for, but there are others waiting for you. There are people waiting patiently for their lives to be touched and changed by you. And now there is no time to waste. So now I invite you to come back into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And open your eyes. Pick up your pencil, and I'm going to say one more prayer. I now set aside my ego, doubts, and fears and put a circle of light around me so that only God's grace can come through. I give thanks in advance for the divine wisdom that is about to be revealed to me. And now I want you to write at the top of the page the question to which you want the answer. Whether it's what's my purpose on this earth, what is it that I came to contribute, or maybe the answer to something that you have a question about in your life right now. So write that question. And if you don't know the question, just write, God, what would you like me to know today? Or Creator, or whatever word you use to address that divine presence that's always wanting to speak to you. And now, once you have the question written, I want you to write the answer. We'll just do spontaneous writing. Let the answer flow from your crown chakra, down through your head, into your heart chakra, and out your arm. And just begin to write. This isn't a thinking exercise. This is a spontaneous, allowing God to speak through you exercise. Don't worry about spelling, punctuation, sentence structure. Just write. You're tapping into divine guidance. And now I'll be silent so that you can write and allow the message to come through you. And if you get stuck, as Leah and I hold this space for you, just write, what else would you like me to know? And we'll give you a few more moments. And now you can finish up the thought that you're on. And if you're already done, just read over what you've written. You'll probably be blown away by the wisdom that's come through you. And you can highlight or underline the action steps that you've been guided to take. And now, when you go out back into the world after listening to this, you have some guidance, specific guidance of steps to take that came from the highest source. And this exercise is something that you could do every day. I do it every day after my meditation. I actually first learned it from Napoleon Hill in his book, Grow Rich with Peace of Mind. And what he does is every morning he takes out his piece of paper and he writes at the top, God, what are you and I going to create today?
Ooh,
And then he just writes the answer. And that's what he does.
love
So anyway.
that. Wow, you give us so many resources, so many tools. I'm truly, truly grateful. Thank you so much for being here and sharing this with us.
Well, you are so welcome, and thank you for this work that you're doing. And again, I think that your work, and also enlivening all of the centers, all of the chakras, and the work that you do is so powerful. And when we clear out the chakras, then the knowledge comes to us even more powerfully and more clearly. So we're all working together. And I know that we're going to say goodbye, and I just thought of this quote from the Buddha that I'd like to end with, if you don't mind.
I would love that. Please share.
It just came to me. I haven't quoted this in forever, but for some reason there is someone who needs to hear this. And the quote from the Buddha is, "The trouble is you think you have time."
Ooh. I need to write that down. Maybe it was for me.
Yes.
Oh, that was so beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm feeling shiny right now.
You're lucky. Well, you always look shiny. You look shiny, but you always do in front of your beautiful picture. So thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you so much. And everyone, we are joining in the Creative Soul Online Retreat Facebook group to share your insights and what came up for you in this meditation. I really would love to hear from everybody. So thank you so much, Debra. Have a beautiful day.